The NBA community is a community that consists of a lot of very opinionated people, and these people come from many different backgrounds, but 95% of the time it is coming from a guy who hasn't played on the NBA nor has played at a high level themselves, but are just super fans of basketball and the NBA. And us NBA YouTubers throughout the past couple of years have developed a fan base on this platform, and a very common comment that at least I get is, why should I trust this chubby Asian looking dude who's never played basketball at a high level seriously? Like, he probably doesn't know what he's talking about. And I get it. When you want to learn more about something, it would be much more reassuring if you got your information from an expert in the field or a guy who's had a lot of hands-on experience instead of regular Joe Schmoe over there. If you want to know more about rap, you're taking Jay-Z's advice over some random guy on the internet. But if I'm gonna be honest with y'all, most of the videos that we do just use logic more than anything. You don't need to be an NBA player to realize the stuff that we're realizing, and Mr. Ryan Hollins proves just that. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, Ryan Hollins is a sports television personality for ESPN, but before you guys saw him on First Take, before you guys saw him on Get Up, he was an NBA player. Ryan Hollins was a 7-foot center and had a 9-year career in the NBA and played D1 basketball at UCLA for 4 years. Now, he was never a star in the NBA, and he was never expected to be one. He was a solid backup big that could come in for 8 to 10 minutes a game and give you a bucket or two and a couple of rebounds. But man, compared to all the NBA YouTubers out there, compared to all the sports personalities out there like Nick Wright, Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, compared to regular old Joe Schmoes on Twitter, he has had much more success in the game than 98% of the people that talk online. And shout out to Ryan Hollins for that. You know, he's actually played with Rondo, he's actually played with Chris Paul, he's actually played with Dirk Nowitzki. While we're just here sitting at home watching the game, never good enough to play in the NBA, and we have the nerve to criticize and analyze players. You know, theoretically, his opinion should weigh more than anyone else's because, you know, he's been there, done that, while, you know, we just be talking. But what Ryan Hollins did a couple weeks ago on Get Up just disproves that argument altogether. You see, Ryan Hollins was on Get Up last week and was asked if Giannis is the front runner for the MVP. What he had to say about it on the show proved 3 things to me. 1, you don't have to have played in the NBA to know what you're talking about when it comes to the NBA. 2, we have to redefine what the word clutch means in the NBA. And 3, the word value is such an overrated word in the community, it's crazy. Let's roll the tape.
He's not the MVP. To me, when you talk MVP, that means you're the most valuable player on the team. Your impact is the largest. And when I watch Giannis, yes, he rebounds, he blocks shots, he defends, he does all those little things. I love what he does. I love him. But he's not going to close out a game for you. He turns into more of a center and more of into a roller to the rim rather than a guy with the ball in his hands creating opportunities for others. When you watch the Bucks play, it's Bledsoe, it's Middleton. Those guys are closing the games out. Those guys are hitting big shots. Those guys are playmaking, Jay Will. So for me, I can't put you in that MVP candidacy unless you're closing games. I just can't give you that type of credit.
So according to Ryan Hollins, the reason why Giannis is not an MVP candidate is because of 2 main reasons. He is not the most valuable player, and because he cannot close out games. When the games are close, it's Chris Middleton closing, it's Eric Bledsoe making plays, and it's not Giannis doing these things. And to that I say, what kind of logic is that? Just because you can't close out, you can't win MVP? Ryan, I'm gonna give you one name, and I would challenge you. I would love for you to take his one MVP away. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal in 2000 won the MVP, averaging 30 points per game, 14 rebounds, 3 blocks, while leading the storied Los Angeles Lakers to an astounding 67 wins. But Ryan, and to everyone watching this video, may I ask, was Shaquille O'Neal the closer of that team? Was it not Kobe Bryant? I mean, Ryan, when Jay told you Paul George is looking like the alpha of the Thunder this year, you rebutted by saying,
games, like 28 points
You know
per
what's
game.
nice? You know what's nice as a shooter, as a scorer, to be comfortable because that other guy's handling the basketball, has all the responsibilities at hand?
But
that's what's nice.
Isn't a team...
Now, you know what else is nice, Ryan? Shaq having Kobe handle all the ball handling responsibilities actually led the team in assists. Being such a deadly scorer that they couldn't double Shaq in the paint most of the time, it really helps also having the best coach in NBA history coaching you. So Ryan, you know, based on your arguments, tell me why Shaq was the MVP in the 2000 NBA season. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the voting, and you know, based on Ryan's arguments, he was probably that one guy that voted for Allen Iverson and held Shaq back from being the unanimous MVP that year. Because if we look at Allen Iverson, you know, he is the closer of the Sixers. He was more valuable to his team than Shaq that year, so it had to be Allen Iverson. But I bet you if you ask right now, Ryan Hollins would not question Shaq's MVP one bit. This idea that you have to be a closer to win MVP is just asinine to me. Because Ryan's definition of clutch, first of all, or being a closer, is simply being able to give the ball in someone's hands with the shot clock winding down, and that guy being able to create his own shot. But then in the same clip, he says Russell Westbrook is more of an MVP candidate than Paul George, when Paul George is easily the best closer on that team with Ryan's definition. But I've talked about this before, being clutch is not just making a game-winning shot. I'll give you guys a scenario. If your team is down by 9 with 5 minutes left in the game, and you single-handedly score 10 straight points, that is clutch. If your team is down 3-2, with Game 6 on the road, legacy on the line, and you score 45 points and 15 rebounds on 73% shooting, and led the team to a 20-point blowout, that is being clutch. Playing great defense down the stretch can also be clutch. But not only are these things typically not in the typical definition of being clutch, but when you go into NBA.com and look up clutch stats, these aren't accounted for in the criteria of having a 5-point differential in the last 4 minutes of the game. Which is why, on a side note, clutch stats suck, by the way. Because when you look at Giannis this season, he has definitely performed in big games and dominated many games in his own way, albeit not being the prototypical closer that Ryan Hollins is thinking of. But going back to his point on Russell Westbrook, he says Russell Westbrook is more of an MVP candidate than Paul George because he's the engine of that team.
That was 0-4. They didn't have the same success, and the healthier he got, the better he was. Averaging triple-doubles now, he's that engine. Make no mistake.
I don't want to keep going on, Brittany. I'm sorry.
But Ryan, let me ask you this. What is Giannis to the Bucks? In the clip, Ryan talks about Giannis not being an MVP candidate because to him, the MVP should go to the most valuable player. And there are many players out there like LeBron and Harden who are more valuable to his team than Giannis. And I swear, man, this argument comes up every single year. Every year, the leading candidate is penalized for being on a good team and leading them to a huge amount of success that most of us did not see. And every year, I tell everyone, value, the way most people in the NBA community talk about it, is a word that most people just use if you're really biased towards something. Because the value of an NBA player is dynamic. By most people's definition, a player's value goes down when they have better teammates, and a player's value goes up when they have trash teammates, which is totally unfair to a player when it comes to the MVP award, in so many ways. What the argument does is literally penalizes a player for having good teammates and praises someone for having bad teammates. Like, what sense does that make in this scenario? And also, a newsflash, people, Ryan, you were asked about Giannis's chances of being the NBA's MVP, not yours or mine's MVP. And when you look at the NBA MVP and how it's been given out since its inception, it has literally, statistically, 90% of the time, it has been given out to a player who put up amazing stats and has led his team to a top 4 record in the league. The only anomalies being stuff like Russell Westbrook averaging a 30-point triple-double and Michael Jordan putting up 35 points per game on 54% shooting and playing good enough defense to win Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. And when you look at what Giannis is doing this season, he is on pace to lead the Bucks to 60 wins, possibly the best record in the league. while putting up 26 points on nearly 60% shooting from the field, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, while playing well above average defense. And I do give Hollins some credit for saying he's in the running, and I honestly understand other arguments for other players, but the arguments that Ryan Hollins used in this clip to back up his claim are very flawed and contradicts a lot of things he said in the same clip. Now, going back to the beginning of the video, notice how in this entire video I just used logic. There is nothing that I said in the video where you needed to be an NBA player or even a varsity high school player to know. You know, making it to the NBA and, you know, even making it to the high school varsity basketball team is a very hard thing to do, and it requires a lot of hard work. And I'm not discrediting all NBA players and their takes, because they do provide an input on the game that is very unique and exclusive because of their experiences that they've gone through and them seeing things that we might not see at first glance. But to discredit other analysts of the game simply because they have not reached that level of success in athletics is just very ignorant. People should only discredit their arguments if it's flawed and they clearly don't know what they're talking about, not when they make sense and you just believe something else, so you call out, you know, their basketball skill. But at the end of the day, you know, it is just basketball. Everyone has their own opinion, and I respect Ryan Hollins for sharing his. I just wanted to talk about his takes because I'm not gonna lie, at least to me, they're pretty bad. It's not just this take, and I always do this every time I do any exposed video. Just a disclaimer, I'm just tackling people's arguments. You know, I've met a lot of great people who just had terrible takes, and there's no doubt in my mind that Ryan Hollins is just, you know, a great guy who has terrible takes, at least to me. But I hope everyone enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, leave a like. Let me know what you think about Ryan Hollins and his takes in the comment section down below. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.